I know. Meeting is now called to order and welcome to the first council meeting in the year 2023. Let us stand for a silent prayer and we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. The pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Deputy Clerk Chris, could you please call the roll?
Noah,
I'm here.
Councilman Palmer, here. So, excuse,
Absence.
Councilman Palmer.
Here.
Mayor Jones,
Here.
Lipka,
Here.
Councilman Nelson.
A quorum is present. At this time, we'll move to our public comments.
Madam Mayor.
Okay.
I'd like to amend the agenda tonight, specifically section 6, subsection C, to place Lamika Covington under consideration for the Ferguson Neighborhood Improvement Program. Vote for that tonight.
Okay. All in favor for the amended agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. When we get to appointments, you can bring her name.
Thank you.
Okay. Public comments, 3 minutes, and we ask that you stay close to your 3 minutes. You had an opportunity to send your public comments in via email or sign up at the podium. Deputy Clerk, who is our first person?
You want to go with on the Zoom people first, or do you want to do in person first?
Let's go in person, then Zoom. Thank you.
The first person for Erica Brooke.
Good evening. Happy New Year to all. My resolution is not just to have a dream, but to be woke and consciously wake up the complacent or that can make a difference in our community by having a voice for us. There are a few issues that allow the citizens in Ferguson to have access or be engaged in the business in real time, such as the website. It's not detailed with updates about the projects such as the West Florissant Greater Streets Initiative, the goals of the our Ferguson 2040 Comprehensive Plan, the disbursement of the American Rescue Plan funding, the archival of the meetings, boards and commission, just to name a few. Also, the meetings that are posted, such as the Planning and Zoning Commission, are never, but they never have a time or a place where the meeting is held. So the citizens who are not on the commission don't have access to the meeting. All of the meetings should be videotaped and accessible at all times. I know I've been on this ever since, I can remember, I try to go to the planning and zoning meetings and they never have time where it's happening at or how we can be engaged in knowing what's going on, to know what's happening with the business. But what I saw on the EDST meeting, there seems to be extra meetings and proposals created without the inclusion of all the board members, nor the input of citizens before projects are brought forth for consideration. In addition, I want to ask, do the Planning and Zoning Board work with the EDST Commission in order to share information? I'm asking that because there seems to be a breakdown in communication about the business plans for Ferguson. I want to also ask about the ARPA funds as far as, I know you are gonna talk about that later on, and I have mentioned the fact about the lighting, funding being used for changing the regular lighting to LED lighting. Also, I mentioned about placing false windows in the derelict houses, the different coverings that look like windows, but they're not windows.
40 seconds, Ms. Brooks.
And also the removal of trees by electrical cords and transistors by the streets and by homes. And I also want to know the status of when the South Day project was going to begin, and also the public hearing associated with that. And also I want to know, when are you all gonna fill in the potholes on South Day, because they're really bad on everybody's suspension system on their cars. And I get tired of running through potholes, and I'm trying to see if y'all can do some kind of emergency filling of the potholes.
Thank you,
And
Ms.
I want
Brooks.
to ask you one more thing about the redistricting status, as far as where is that at? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Louis McKinney.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Louis McKinney, and I am a developer of affordable housing for seniors and for families. To date, I have developed numerous projects throughout the St. Louis area, several in St. Louis County in Jennings, Overland, and St. John, as well as in the city of St. Louis. Recently, I received the Developer of the Year Award and the Development of the Year Award in the city of St. Louis. I also was fortunate to receive that honor in 2019. My occupation is my passion. Over a year ago, I responded to a city of Ferguson public solicitation for affordable housing development proposal and was selected by the city of Ferguson's process. Since then, negotiations have been ongoing. Tonight, I am here to offer the city a proposal of a purchase option contract of $250,000. I provided you all a copy of my communications with your city attorney in that regard, but I thought it was important enough that I come here today to personally share this information with you. I appreciate the past negotiations that the city of Ferguson has offered, tax abatements, or reduced permit fees, etc. But tonight I propose no incentives. I don't want the city of Ferguson to invest anything in the property, but to sell me the property for the $250,000 payment so I can have the rights to the property in order to do the development for the seniors of the city of Ferguson. My goal is really, really simple, and that is to provide affordable housing for seniors in this community. Anyone have any questions? I'm prepared to answer any questions.
None at this time.
Again, I appreciate the city of Ferguson's offer of incentives, but in order to move this project forward as expeditiously as possible, I don't require any incentives, no tax abatements, no deferred developer permit fees, zero, but to give the city of Ferguson $250,000 for land that it procured through a tax default, and to put land on the board that would pay city taxes as well as $250,000 cash. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Joe Schroeder.
Hello, Joe Schrader here. I'm a member of the Board of Adjustments, and I was notified by another member of the board yesterday that there were some changes happening to the boards, and I had never been, I didn't know anything about it. And I don't know how it's going to affect the Board of Adjustments, but I'm here to see why the changes are required and if this is going to affect the Board of Adjustments. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Next, we have Melanie Randalls.
Hi, I am Melanie Randalls. I am the Ferguson Economic Development Sales Tax Chair, but I'm writing more today as a concerned community citizen. Since the establishment of the EDST in 2016, roughly $1.6 million annually has been spent without any input and directive from the commission. Since then, a tax abatement letter was submitted and promises of a more transparent process in regards to this commission being a more inclusive community effort were made. However, simple things like my request to be a co-host on Zoom meetings as being the chair has been denied, stating we just simply can't do that. I honestly don't think that this is an unreasonable request, but has been continuously denied. Why is this not authorized? I'm asking for this because with no more eyes on the entry, folks such as Ms. Erica Brooks were not let into the meeting either at all or on time, and this has happened every time. My biggest issue with the EDST is that I see no plans with the funds to address West Florissant development, which the city would not even have these funds had it not been for the 2014 Ferguson uprising. Other examples of ethical injustice include commission members not being included on meetings and development discussions, which are avid attempts to strip us of our powers, and it's all getting old. I'm utterly disappointed that after all the trials and tribulations of the commission, I found that $250,000 of the EDST funds have been moved or are requesting to be moved to the general fund. I also see that an additional $5,000 has been spent on personal consulting for Elliott in relation to the EDST plans, even after being on record asking funds not to be moved in this manner, as there is no criteria or true oversight for the spending of general fund transfers. The lack of transparency and the amount of information hoarding that's happening is not hard to miss. Also, plans to acquire 123 South Florissant, which should have really been placed on the Ferguson Restorative Program list with hopes of redeveloping that area for a new city hall in the future, is really a slap in the face. I know you may be wondering how I know that, but that's for me to know, and I'm sure the community to find out later. It's like all the plans are made and we are an afterthought. There's plans to redevelop an entire neighborhood in hopes of putting a Chick-fil-A in an already congested part of town without talking to all the residents involved, such as Somerset and Black Oaks, with no impact plan. It's not the kind of economic development I was hoping to be a part of when I was appointed to this role. I urge the community to become more educated and more involved in the plans regarding these funds. Our next meeting is January 23rd at 2 p.m. I hope that you all are there. Thank you.
Hasselhoff?
Good evening. When my wife and I went out to walk the dog this evening, we walked out of our driveway on Royal and a car came flying down the other block of Royal at very high speed, barely made the zigzag at Nancy and came tearing up my street at probably 60 miles per hour. Happens all the time, happens all over Ferguson, and lives are in danger because of it. And that's why it particularly upsets me that the Traffic Commission is being hindered in its work by cutting off our access to data that we are supposed to be getting. Now, 81 days ago, a Jamar traffic measuring device was delivered to City Hall, 81 days ago. And the Traffic Commission, prior to the ordering of that device, had what we believed was an agreement that we were going to be able to take care of the device. And after it arrived, it sat for a few weeks in Mr. Osterberg's office. And then we finally had a meeting where we were told that the Public Works Department would be handling the device because of liability. At the time, I was puzzled about that because putting the device up requires going 2 steps up a little step ladder. If I stood on one of these chairs here, it would be more dangerous than what you do to put this device up on a pole. But that was the decision that was made, and I didn't know why When we have volunteers standing out in the middle of streets, blocking traffic in road vests every time we have a parade or a race or something, being out in the middle of the street with cars driving up to you is much more dangerous than being at the side of a road, 2 steps up a little aluminum stepladder. Came to find out later that the driving force behind this declaration of hazard was some emails and text messages from the mayor to the city manager. And I was very disappointed about that because traffic is one of the big and vital problems in this city. Now, we had plans to do a speed study on a residential street in this city every 3 days. So in the 81 days that have passed since that device was delivered to Mr. Osterberg, we would have had 27 speed studies. So everybody in this room could have had a speed study on your street if you've got a speeding problem. Because city staff has been too busy and they needed extra training and whatever, we've gotten a grand total of 0 speed studies from the city so far.
40 seconds.
It was put on a pole outside of Pop Pop Hooray about a month ago, and it has sat there ever since, and we've got nothing. So if you want to understand why the Traffic Commission isn't recommending any improvements for your neighborhood yet, it's because the city has cut off the data we need to make those decisions at the behest of the mayor. So you might want to contact them and ask them to let the Traffic Commission do their job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Donald Stevens.
Good evening to all. The redistricting proposal submitted by the redistricting commission, it's not really fair to just go to one area and just loop them up into the redistricting. We feel that the redistricting proposal need to be reconsidered. Another look at it, add the proposal that was submitted. There was 2 petitions filed on behalf of the residents in the Northland Hills subdivision and also the Nesbitt Newton neighborhood. And there was a proposal submitted by the Forestwood Neighborhood Association. So we feel that those requests, those petitions have been ignored. We'd like for the council to take a look at the bill tonight, 7237, and reconsider the proposal that was submitted by the redistricting commission. On another note too, I think it would be best for the community that the council reconsider the charter commission. There's a lot of things that need to be revised and a lot of stuff that need to be implemented to make Ferguson move forward. With that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's everybody in person. We have a couple for Zoom now.
Okay.
The first person on Zoom would be Cassandra Butler. She is on, yeah. Cassandra, can you hear us?
Okay, yes, I had to switch to get to the microphone. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. First, I want to say thank you, Mr. Lewis McKinney, for your interest in our city. Next, I want to mention, I sort of want to piggyback on what Ms. Brooks said and what Ms. Randall said, and I want to talk about the issue of transparency. I think an important word to help our city move forward at this juncture is to embrace this word, transparency. It was always pretty obvious to me that this would benefit the city. This is one reason I embraced Mr. Osterberg's candidacy for city manager, because he voiced that this is a value that he strongly holds. I am beginning to notice from a closer vantage point just how ingrained the culture of not being transparent is within the operation of the city. As a newly appointed member of the Personnel Committee, I have not once had the staff person who was supposed to support the committee contact me. And not only that, I haven't gotten a response to any of the emails that I have sent for information and requests. When I attended the Zoom meeting yesterday for the Economic Sales Tax Commission, I was very dismayed how the city support person was not really supportive. His role seemed to be more controlling. I have been attending since last year and noticed how difficult it is for the members to get the information they want to make decisions. They seem to be spoon-fed limited information and expected to be content with it. They have to struggle to get enough information to be able to see the question from a contextual perspective. The staff person, in essence, is controlling and appears to give just enough information to get the response to support decisions he has already made. So this reminds me to recall the challenges I saw the Human Rights Commission had with the previous administration, where they had very limited autonomy and they seemed to have to wrestle to get that. Then I remember how the council did not appreciate the Neighborhood Police Steering Committee offering any advice about the city's ethics ordinance. And then I think about this is all predictable resistance to change. That lack of transparency helps keep a remnant of status quo in place, although not so visibly. Then I think about how much the city shows favoritism toward meeting the letter of the law instead of meeting the spirit of the law. This attitude is not going to help us to get where we need to go. With that said, I want to ask a specific question of the city manager about yesterday at the economic sales tax meeting. When the chair asked to become a co-host, she was told she could not be a co-host and that this decision had been made in consultation with you, Mr. Osterberg. So I would like to know why that decision has been made. It seems to be a policy. It really looks like another control tactic that puts the staff person in control of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Jerry Knoll.
We don't have a picture.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council, and Happy New Year. Everybody's wishing everybody else. As chair of the Ferguson Civilian Review Board, I want to remind the council still around 2 members. And I know there's people that have submitted applications, so I'm a little puzzled why nobody's being appointed. We had one more meeting in December that we had to cancel because we couldn't get a quorum. And so that brought us to 5 meetings canceled last year, all after July 1st. So for the last half of the year, we usually meet twice a month. Out of our 12 meetings, 5 were canceled, almost, you can do the math, close to 50%, because we couldn't get a quorum. So we need 2 more members, and they need to be Ward 1 members. I also wanted to let the council know that since the year's finished, we'll be gathering data and putting together and publishing our annual report like we've done for the last 3 years. We'll also, along with that, update our website with that information. We usually like to send a letter to the monitor and Judge Perry about our accomplishments and concerns that we have during the year. And we'll be sure this year to copy the council on it also. And then also last year, the council gave us a spot on one of the agendas to do a presentation. So we're going to request that again this year, maybe in the April-May timeframe, to present to the council our a summary of our annual report from 2022. And then one other thing I wanted to mention is one of the things we do. People think of us as only reviewing complaints, but we also gather statistics on complaints, racial profiling data, and crime statistics to identify trends. And if you look at our annual report, we have quite a few interesting charts on crime statistics. And recently, one of the council members, Councilman Mike Palmer, requested that we analyze the interplay of traffic stops with violent crime, which we're happy to do. And in fact, we're very happy that someone on the council was taking an interest in some of the work we're doing and wanting us to dig in a little deeper. So I consulted with Dr. Richard Rosenfeld from UMSL, who's a nationally known criminologist, well respected across the country. And he helped us on the first charts we first developed and continue to publish. And he was happy to do that analysis for us. So I requested some data from Chief McCall in the Ferguson Police Department to be able to turn over to Dr. Rosenfeld, and he'll do that analysis for us, which is very handy. But anyway, that's part of how the Ferguson Civilian Review Board should work, that we gather data, look for trends, and hopefully that informs the city's efforts to, in this
Audio
case,
second, Jerry.
okay, thank you. In this case, to combat violent crime, which is an issue for all of us. So thank you, appreciate it. Happy New Year again.
The last person we had was Alan Mueller.
Alan.
Good evening, Council, Madam Mayor. As a member of the Board of Adjustment, I'm commenting on the 3 bills pending tonight that affect city planning, architectural design, and the work of the Board of Adjustment. With 3 minutes afforded, I can only give a quick gloss over the major topics concerning these bills. First, bills number 2738 and 7239 consolidate functions of several commissions into the responsibilities of the Board of Adjustment, dramatically increasing and broadening our responsibilities. The Board of Adjustment has never been informed that these changes were being proposed. My first request, therefore, is that the council take no action on these bills until the proposed changes are formally presented to the members of the Board of Adjustment. Members of the Housing Board, Building Appeals, and if it exists, Zoning Appeals should also be given notice that these proposals would abolish them. They need to know what happens to their roles and terms when their committees no longer exist. Further, Section 25.2 of the city ordinances doesn't list any specific qualifications for membership on the Board of Adjustment. Certain professional qualifications need to be added to the enacting ordinances, since the board will now be tasked with evaluating dangerous structures, flood impacts, and aesthetics. Again, please wait to finalize these 2 bills until they can be reviewed by the applicable stakeholders. Moving to bill number 7235. The ordinance merging the Architectural Review Board into the Plan Commission has several significant problems as it is currently written. Currently, the Architectural Review Board requires at least 2 of its 3 members to be licensed architects. There is no similar requirement for the Plan Commission. The ordinance needs to add criteria for professional qualifications for members of the Plan Commission. Next, the ordinance gives the planning director exclusive rights to determine which projects appear before the Plan Commission. The director should not be the sole judge of the physical, functional, and aesthetic appropriateness of every project. This assessment is a specific purview of the board. Lastly, Bill 7235 does not provide for sufficient means to notify the public about an impending project, nor sufficient means to solicit public input. Newspapers with limited distribution are wholly inadequate. City website is also inadequate. The Plan Commission, Housing, and the Economic
Seconds.
Developments. Sales Tax Commission have all recently experienced major problems because of the woefully inadequate public notices and transparency. The ordinance needs to require means for clear, direct outreach to all of the stakeholders reasonably affected by any proposed project. Therefore, my second request is that all the above issues be corrected before Bill 7235 is enacted. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Do we have anyone else? Public comments have ended. We'll move to our manager's report. City manager.
Thank you, Anthony. Hear me? Good evening, Mayor, City Council, members of our community. I just wanted to take a quick question to respond to Cassandra Butler's question about the host decision. It was my understanding from the staff member that the request was to be the sole host of the meeting. I did not understand it was the co-host of the meeting. So the reason why I made that decision was because we've had, just being frank, we've had accusations in the past of chair members of boards not selectively allow access to people coming into the meeting. So by having that be a city staff member who's in theory a neutral party, we can ensure that people are coming in. So I apologize that it sounds like some people were not let in, specifically Mrs. Brooks. I want to move on to our ARPA update. So at the last city council meeting, we had a lot of questions about ARPA funding and where we are at it currently. So I'm giving an update to everybody tonight. Please advance. So first, just kind of a history of where we are in the process of ARPA so far. Last year, or actually 2 years ago, and the end of that year, the ARPA funding was announced for cities, also called SLRF funding. The city of Ferguson was awarded total for about $4 million to be paid in two installments, one in the end of the year in 2021, and then towards the end of last year, we received the other half, the additional $2 million. So after that, after we knew that we were going to be receiving the first disbursement of funding, what we did is we did a pretty exhaustive public engagement campaign. So we sent out flyers to all residents. We set up a website that communicated about all of the information pertaining to ARPA funding. We did a flash vote text-based survey. We partnered with a company who actually sent survey links to everybody's cell phones within the city of Ferguson. And then we held in-person and virtual meetings where we gave an overview of the funding, talked about the ways that the funding could be expended, and then we took a survey. So at each of these, and we approached kind of through a multimedia channel, we solicited feedback from our residents about how the ARPA dollars were going to be used. And then during the budget process, I sat down with city council and showed them the breakout of all of the funding, all of the requested ways that we use the funding from the public, and then we moved forward with allocating the dollars as such. So next slide, please. So the first slide is ARPA funds that have been completely expended to date. So first off, we spent about $3,000 in ARPA outreach, $15,000 on laptops, and then we did a revenue exception for $1.2 million. That was the monies that we had lost in revenue during the pandemic. Next slide, please. The funds that are still in process or in the development of being spent is first we have a dedicated $80,000 of ARPA funding to park scholarships and fee reductions that has not been used up to this point. I spoke with the Parks Director, Dave Musgrave. They're currently developing a process for this upcoming summer season where families will be notified that if in the event that they can't afford to pay the full price for some of our programming, that they'll be able to have a portion or all of their fees waived to try to open our parks, remove the financial barriers to access for families who would otherwise access our services in parks. The next amount of money is we dedicated in the budget $500,000 to streetlights. This was probably the most popular item that we heard from our residents. It was actually something specifically called out for in what's called the final rule from the Department of the Treasury, the federal Treasury, which dictated how we can and cannot use the funding. At this point, we've spoken with Ameren. We have an understanding about how we would go about requesting new streetlights. But what we don't have the projections on is what the long-term cost of the streetlights are. So obviously, after you install a streetlight, we pay the electricity for that. So it's just getting a handle on that before we're looking to proceed. Next, we dedicated $300,000 of ARPA funding to an accelerated demolition schedule. As a part of our property restoration program that we do annually, there's a step during that program where after we acquire properties, if there's no interest from the developers to develop them, we demo them. We also have a backlog of properties in the past that have been on PRP that didn't have developer interest that we're working through slowly to the tune of, I think, like $50,000 a year. What this will allow us to do is pretty much go through all of that schedule. And then the last item is $250,000 was dedicated to housing repair grants. That is a program that's in process with FNIP. The president of FNIP will be here tonight to give an update about the specifics about how that funding has been utilized so far. That ends my presentation to City Council, and I will take any questions that are coming up.
Councilwoman Noah.
Right. Thank you, Mayor. City Manager Osterberg, can we allocate $30,000 to FYI to help them purchase a transportation vehicle? They're having a fundraiser on the 19th. And I know that they completed a presentation and they're asking for money. Well, they asked for money during the presentation to purchase a transportation vehicle to transport the youth back and forth. So are we able to assist with $30,000?
We actually, during the budget process, something that we discussed was foregoing any of the nonprofits that presented to us, because at the time there was an additional source of funding that was being allocated by the county. And that has now since been allocated. But generally, as far as reallocating ARPA funds, the process for that's not something that I can do by myself. That would be something that would have to be a council decision, especially if it's over my spending limit, which is $10,000. So that would be in the form of like a budget amendment.
So I would need to make a motion for that, Mayor.
Well, where are you going to take it from? I mean, because we've gone through
Whoa.
an extensive amount of meetings and conversations with the community, with the council, with the budget and everything else. We've all agreed on these numbers. We've all looked at them very hard. So now you want to change everything that we've agreed on. So tell me exactly when you're going to take it out of.
So out of so is this the total $4 million?
Correct.
It
It's
is.
all been allocated.
It's all been allocated. Even the $20,000, the additional $20,000 that we received, there should have been in, I think, March of 22. Did we receive an additional
If we
20,000?
received additional, that would not have been allocated. No.
Okay, well, what about that?
I would need to verify the exact amount if we got that.
Yeah, I do recall that we received an additional $20,000.
Okay.
Okay, please do.
Now, Councilwoman.
I'm good.
Good. Anyone else?
I have just one thing on that 20,000 that we say that you're gonna check into. Can we
Yeah,
also
so
look into-
I'll look through communication from the federal government. So we get updates from the Treasury periodically about ARPA funding two ways. If there's any changes to the level of funding, if there's and any changes to the rules about the use of funding, and then actually there's a third category of communication if we get communication about just reminders about making reports. Obviously, all of the things that I went over tonight, these are things that we actually have to document and then submit a report to annually to the federal government. And we'll actually be submitting those reports through the next 4 years.
We wanted to inquire too about the street sweeper.
Street sweeper, that would be capital. That would not be something that we could acquire through ARPA. Yeah.
So for
Councilwoman Noah.
I'm sorry. So for clarity, you said that we would have to reallocate funds.
Well, so if there's been an additional disbursement of ARPA funds that unallocated, we can just allocate that. That wouldn't have been something that has been allocated yet.
What about, are we able to take money from one of those funds?
Yeah. So again, this is just a general power of council. At any time through the process of a budget amendment, council can reappropriate funds.
Councilwoman Lipka.
I would also remind you, Councilman Noah, that we had October 18th, a special meeting where we talked about the capital improvement dollars and our 5-year discussion, our discussion on our 5-year CIP. And it was brought up then that we were at about $6,000 worth of projects with about $4,000. So then we started looking at different things that were priorities. And we also started looking at different things that we could do to lower that amount. And one of the things that our parks director came up with was to look into the purchase of a used bus for the use of activities at the recreation department. What I would suggest to you is, never underestimate the power of goodwill in our community. We have an amazing community. So if they're doing a fundraiser for transportation, see what's going to happen with that first. Second thing I would say is I would also encourage you, if you want to be that person, to encourage FYI to work with Mr. Musgrave and see if there's a way together that they could create this transportation opportunity that they could share. And that would allow what you want to happen in a manner that the city can afford.
I'm not going to.
Go ahead,
comment
but
to that.
after
Well,
that, we have to move.
Just a
on.
little bit, just to clarify, they're having a fundraiser on the 19th. And I know that when they completed the presentation, they were asking for money for a transportation van. Just to clarify, I'm not saying that that's the sole reason for the fundraiser. Just to clarify that. But thank you, Councilwoman Lipka, for that input.
I'll be happy to help you too.
Thank you. Next item.
Up next, we have our police department update from Chief McCall.
Council. Pleasure to be before you this evening. First and foremost, happy holiday. I hope it was enjoyable for everyone. With this being the new year, I want to give you guys an update as far as what the police department plans are and what we're currently doing. First and foremost, as I mentioned before we had started, we had members in the police academy. We had 4 new cadets that started the police academy. Unfortunately, due to injury, we lost 2 of our cadets. We have 2 still currently in the academy. These were injuries per se, where it came to a point of endurance wise. Always when you initially start a police academy, you're going to get hit real hard to just see your endurance level per se. And pretty much under advisement and recommendation, the decision was made to give them an opportunity to say improve themselves. And if they are still interested, then we can try again maybe in 6 months. But I would also like to say that the applications keep coming in. We have interviews set up for this week. We have interviews for communications dispatch set up for next week. So that's a continual thing. We've already just had I believe it was a citizen panel for someone that's interested for the June class of 2020. So the interest in our department continues to increase, and I'm very confident and really feel good about that occurring. As far as things that we're working on now, like I say, with the police department, we began the year there were 2 appointments made to the position of captain, which have been vacant for probably 3 years and everything. I've learned that in order for us to do what we need to do, we got to put the pieces in place to get that accomplished. So we started this year accordingly by doing that. It's our intent. Those are 2 captain appointments. We have lieutenant positions, sergeant positions, and hopefully after July 1, corporal positions. So we're looking at the structure of the department, getting people in place, and giving more opportunity for advancement within the department. And that way will help us to retain all of our officers that we currently have, and will interest other officers. With our negotiation and things done with our union, with the department union, we are currently now competitive with other agencies within our region. so we don't have that to hold us back anymore. So as I said, right now, like I said, it's been busy. I did do some checking on some things, typically, and just a level of advice. If anyone in the community sees anything out of the ordinary, whatever, please contact us. You can call us anonymously, or you can go to our website. That email is checked every day. Also, if I'm not mistaken, way we address situations and things of that sort is by being informed about it and then taking appropriate action to combat it. Over the last couple of months, we were having issues in November. We deployed our mobile response team. We have our own, and they were out today, as a matter of fact, going to hotspots for our traffic. So in the parking area, park lot is in all of this. So and we have seen some type of impact with that, a positive impact. Knowing that this is region-wide, area police departments, police chiefs, as well as myself, have gotten together and have had discussions when it comes to task force and different things like that, so that we can share resources, share information, because this is not unique to one community. You know, they're crossing borders and having their way at it, and it's going to take all these communities, law enforcement entities, to work together to combat it. I think it was one more thing that I did want to touch on. It slips my mind right now, but I can say, oh, and this is it. With the holidays that have just passed, the things of that sort, remember that with the gifts that people have gotten, and when you put those empty boxes into your trash containers, you might want to think if you can cut it up, or if a criminal sees a 75-inch TV box, they're putting things in line that, wow, they got a brand new 75-inch television. So what they're going to do when they know you're not home? And I can say that because I've seen it. I wrote reports about it. It's common. It does happen. The way that people find out about how a person is living is by going through their trash. So just to share some information, to be aware about that, especially in lieu of the holiday season.
Okay, Councilwoman.
So Chief McCullough, I did say I would bring this to your attention, so I want to do it at this moment. And I'm sure that you are aware of this, but there have been a lot of car break-ins, a rash of them on Hartnett and that lower end of Darst that's over there by Hartnett and South Barrett. There's actually a Facebook post of citizens that are putting videos, like their cameras are picking this up, and they've got videos of these people, and it looks like it's the same group of people. I don't know if this has been shared with you, but I did save these videos so that I could share them with you tonight. But I just want to let you know that according to these videos, it looks like the area they're getting hit around 4 a.m. It's around 3 to 4. They have a car that drops them off and sits in the street waiting. And then the kids run up, or the young people run up. I say young because they move like young people. And the houses that have seen this with cameras are on Millman, the Millman that goes into Darst, that section of Darst, going up Darst, going down Barrett, and then going down Hartnett. So that area right in there is where they're seeing a rash of it currently. So if you didn't know about it, I wanted to make sure you do know, and I will share this with you when the meeting's over.
Yes, and I will say that our MRT team has been hitting spots where we've gotten reports of car clottings and things like that. I can't stress the importance enough for people to still lock your doors. The reason I say that is because typically they'll check, and if it's open, they're going to go in there, but they'll look through the window and they don't see anything. Your windows are busted primarily because there's something of value that's seen through the window.
Well, and I will also add to the commentary is that some of the people did say in their post that the people, whoever it was, went through their car and didn't steal their money or didn't steal. And they think it's because they're looking for firearms. So, please, first of all, lock your cars. Second of all, your car is not a firearm safe. It's just not. Do not leave a firearm in your car. And then also, while I have your attention, can you share with me, I am the council rep for the Traffic Commission. We really need more traffic control. Can you share with me hopefully some ideas that you are going to implement in 2023 that can help us with a lot of the, because I know just during the holidays, I have Pulse Point on my phone. That doesn't pick up everything, but it still picked up probably about 30 accidents just between Christmas Eve and, New Year's Eve. We had quite a few car accidents.
Well, coincidentally, today I did have some discussion about that. And granted, we're somewhat behind because of other things that have come up, but we're going to be getting our license plate readers, which will give us things in real time. So therefore, you got your drivers and things of that sort. The one thing that has not really been done, and I know it is possible to do, is that we observe a violation, be it by camera or whatever. We run that license plate. It comes back, that's a proper license plate, things of that sort. We can send that individual a summons as opposed to get into a pursuit for that vehicle. So it's different things like that. One thing about the readers, it's like I said before, it's in real time. Also the fact when we had talked about, which has been approved and we're going to be following up on that as well, as far as our option as opposed to vehicle pursuits. But I think it's the Star Chaser that we had talked about before.
Right.
So all of these things are going to be going on within the next few months that we're going to get. It's already been budgeted. It's already taken care of. I did follow up some other things at IACP, be it with the main point is real life technology, because therefore they were finding out things when it happens. So I'm also researching that and also having, as I said, more dialogue and communications with other communities in our area. Why? Because they're dealing with the same things that we're dealing with. So to see what ideas they have as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Palmer.
Chief, I'm curious, when we sponsor cadets to go to the St. Louis County Police Academy, what does that cost? And if they don't make it through the academy, are we on the hook for the entire amount or a prorated amount?
So every seat that we get in the academy is of no cost to us. So like with the two having to be, it's like a retread or something, that doesn't cost us any. Okay.
I do want to interject though. Sometimes we do have additional training costs or equipment costs for outfitting an additional officer. We've worked with Lewis Rice on a standardized contract. So officers that come and begin to work with us do sign a contract. And in the event that they leave before 3 years, they do reimburse us for the total cost.
Wow.
Any other questions for the chief? Thank you, Chief.
Have a great.
Anything else, City Manager?
That concludes the manager's report.
We move to the special presentation. We have the Taste of Ferguson, Robert McGartland.
It's the taste in Ferguson.
It's a taste of,
It's
but it's
wrong.
Taste in Ferguson. Thank you, Robert. She's gone.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, Eric, all those that are here tonight. On behalf of the Taste in Ferguson and the and our committee and our co-founder here, Linda Lipka, and myself, we want to present to the city this plaque that we have put together for our 10th year anniversary of the Taste in Ferguson that was held on September 11, 2022, in support of the 10 years that the city has given us for our event. It's been our own fundraising event, but the city each year has supported us in many different ways. And we felt that we wanted to give them back a little bit of recognition for all the effort and support and the help that they've given us through all these years. And Linda Lipka is our one of our co-chairs and co-founder, and she has a few words too.
So basically, I just want to say thank you to the community, to all of you, and to the staff of the city of Ferguson for the last 10 years. We started this as an endeavor to honor our children who had passed away too soon. And in their honor, we were able to raise funds and give scholarships. Those scholarships stayed in the community and they helped kids. I had worked on some things like this prior to partnering with Bob and his wife. But with the partnership that we created and the partnership with our committees that work so hard along our side, our volunteers, we were able to give out about $350,000 worth of scholarships to the city of Ferguson's children. And we're very, very proud of that. He focused on scholarships for VTC and maintaining that wonderful source of education. I focused on private or public education. And so we were able to really help the youth in our community in honor of my daughter, who died at the age of 17, and his son at the age of 20. And so we just want to thank all of you for your hard work, for your participation, for your $35 before coming and joining. And I just want to say thank you to the council members for the last 10 years who have supported our endeavors. So it's a real honor to be on this side of the podium with this particular situation. And I think our kids are pretty proud.
Yes, they are.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Our next person, Larry Robinette, for the 2022 Progress in the Ferguson Neighborhood Improvement Program.
Jones, City Council, staff. I'm here representing the Ferguson Neighborhood Improvement Board. And after a period of hiatus, I just wanted to give a status of where we've gone and where some of your ARPA funds have been spent. You can jump to the first slide. So August through October, the city representative for FNIP started touching base with the current board members that were still active, and recruiting of new board members began. And then jumping to November through January, in November, we held our first board meeting in over a year. That was November 16th of 2021. We did not have a quorum for over a year. We were unable to function, make any decisions, or follow up with any of our business. We had an out-of-cycle officer election so that we could put officers back in and start making proposals to fix the problems. And with that, the business resumed and we started to move forward. We revised our bylaws, we changed our meeting dates, and we did a financial status review, all of which was difficult because of changes that have gone on in the past couple of years. February and March, meetings were held. However, due to vacancies, we had no quorum and we were not able to move business forward. UMB did present to us the status of our portfolio at that time on March the 1st, which was the first portfolio presentation that we had seen in 2 years. So that was good to know where we stood financially and what programs we could fund and move forward on. Additional board members were recruited and appointed. We approached the city manager for a shared resource for an FNIP director. Our city staff person that was working in that role had left the city. And so we're functioning still in that manner, and the board is actually doing all of the work to do that. We revised the FNIP mission, which I'll talk about in a minute. I do want to take a pause here to call your attention to February and March, where we held meetings and there were vacancies and we could not form a quorum. I am really happy to hear tonight that Lamika Covington is on the agenda to be appointed. I think it takes too long for us to appoint members on the commissions and boards in the city of Ferguson. And I really don't want to be in this position again. We're doing a lot of good things, and it's important that we keep moving forward and are able to establish a quorum when 1 or 2 members can't be here. The next slide, please. Our revised mission. The mission of the Ferguson Neighborhood Improvement Program is to provide and enhance housing opportunities, improve the quality of life, and foster a spirit of community among the residents of Ferguson. FNIP fulfills its mission by promoting housing development and conservation, and by offering programs and services to increase the pride, distinction, and livability of its neighborhoods, and to improve the appearance and value of individual homes. We voted on that in March. We voted on that in April and adopted it, and that's becoming a part of our strategic plan, which I'll talk about on the next slide or two. Next slide, please. Again, continuing the rebuilding of the FNIP board and programs in April, we approached the Washington University Interdisciplinary Legal Team, that's a mouthful for you, to work with FNIP on the Missouri Abandoned Housing Act. This is a program that's currently underway, has been for a few years in the city of St. Louis. We studied that program and adopted it and approached WashU's legal team for pro bono legal work to be able to work in that area. And I'll get into the response to that a little bit later. The board approved 2 programs and a budget to fund them. That's the Good Neighbor Grant Program and the Neighborhood Improvement Matching Program. FNIP began a discussion with RISE. I'm sure many of you on council know RISE. They've helped the city of Ferguson in many ways. We opened up a channel of communication with them and started working on developing programs and funding sources for some new ideas. FNIP presented to the city of Ferguson and council for $500,000 in ARPA funds for new programs. And skipping right down to May through July, the council approved $250,000, which you've already seen from the city manager's report, for the FNIP Exterior Improvement Program. The application was then developed for that new program once the funds were there, and the work continued on the finance reports and the bank accounts. It's important to know here that the way the finance was set up for FNIP, the checks have to be signed by 2 parties. One is the treasurer board member, the other was the city finance director, who was no longer with the city, and the treasurer was no longer the treasurer that was there. So we had a lot of work to do with UMB to get the bank account switched over, get them able to be signed, and took that out of the city's responsibility so that they won't have that issue going forward. It's now managed by the board completely. The next slide, please. In August, the grant applications and guidelines were posted to the Ferguson City website. The first Good Neighbor Grant application was approved in August of 2022. Also in August of 2022, we received the sad news from the Washington University legal team of their inability to support us with legal services. They took on some additional work with the city of St. Louis. They're also doing a lot of environmental pro bono work for groups that need support in our environmental areas that don't have a lot of money either. And they let us know they would not be able to take on supporting Ferguson. We're currently looking for other channels to try to bring some pro bono legal work in to support FNIP so that we can work in picking up abandoned housing in the city of Ferguson and working with developer to turn that around and put it into the right people's hands. In September through December, the Good Neighbor Grant and the exterior improvement applications started coming in on a regular basis. This was really good news to us. The board approved using email for application approvals, which drastically improved our turnaround time. The board only meets officially once a month, and holding all of the applications for a month for the board to review them and approve them was just killing our residents, right? They needed to move forward. As you all know, getting a contractor to do work on your property takes a long time, and they're stacked up. You know, it often takes months before they can get to you. So being able to turn these around was a big deal. Doing the approvals with email made it a lot easier with the quorum business as well. The board approved to keep the current executive officers until June 30th of 2023. This was a very unusual move, but because we hadn't had executive officers, the terms had expired while there was no quorum. We kept these. This will make an 18-month term for those executive members. However, it keeps them moving things forward that are in progress right now. The new elections will be in May for appointment July 1st in 2023. The board approves correcting appointed members and positions to get back on cycle. Our bylaws spell out specifically who holds what positions in the board, and those were in a bit of a quandary. Again, because we'd had people expire and when they were appointed into incorrect positions. We took a lot of work, fixed all that, voted on it as a board, and was able to correct our board appointments so that people are in the right positions now. Another really bright spot was we were struggling to come up with $7,500 to start work on our strategic program, which is a requirement if you're going to apply for grants with other entities outside of the city of Ferguson. RISE was able to secure that funding for us and started working on the creation of the FNIP strategic plan. We're about 50 or 60% there. We anticipate completing that by the end of the first quarter in 2023. That, along with an audited set of books, will give us the ability to start applying for grants outside of the city of Ferguson and bring more money into FNIP for more programs. The next page, please. Part of our strategic plan vision statements that we pulled together, these are draft. I'm not going to read through these. Council will have this presentation. You can read through them and by all means, send me any other questions that you have. But we really focused on trying to bring housing ownership back into Ferguson, which is now, as I understand it, 60–70% rental property. And, we just feel like that's not where Ferguson wants to be. We want to get people back into owning houses. The families that have come to us through the Good Neighbor Grant Program, absolutely wonderful. We've hand delivered the checks to them, shook hands with them, met their families, talked to every one of them. It is really fantastic to see young families coming in with kids that are moving back in here and want to come to Ferguson and are taking advantage of these grant programs. Next slide, please. This is the FNIP by the numbers, where we stand at the end of the year. There have been a couple more already in January, but at the end of the year, we had the $2,500 forgivable loan for a new primary residence purchase. That primarily is targeted at teachers, first responders, new college graduates, Ferguson City employees. We had 6 total applications presented to FNIP in 2022. 4 of those applications were approved and the grants were presented of $2,500 each. Those were the people that we got to meet and it was really a good deal. The 2 applications that were not approved had contracts that fell through. So they're allowed to apply while they're in the process of purchasing a home when they have a contract. And then if they can't secure their financing or whatever reason, the contract can fall through. The exterior improvement program, this is the $1,000 matching grant for Ferguson owner occupied residences. We've had a total of 38 applications presented to FNIP in 2022. 36 of those applications have been approved and 18 of those grants have been paid. We've expended $15,835 as of the end of the year. We've done a couple more checks already in January. The good news about this is the program has finally gotten legs under it and the applications are really starting to flow in. The 2 applications here that were not approved did not meet the guidelines. They weren't owner occupied residences was the reason. A lot of applications came in without the information. So we've done a lot of work. I talk on the phone with a lot of people who are trying to apply through the program and help clarify and get their application in so we can get them approved and move it forward. The next slide, I think, is just a dispersion. So RISE is helping us in a couple of areas. I just wanted to put this up because it was really important to me that FNIP is operating throughout the city of Ferguson. Right? And if you look at the dispersion, the little green diamonds are the 4 areas where we've done Good Neighbor grants, the $2,500 forgivable loan. And you can see some of those are up by St. Louis Community College and the rest of them are down into the city. But also the red stars, which were the 2022 exterior improvement program grants, those are spread across the city. So we're reaching all of the wards. We're reaching all of the residents. We just need to do a lot more of it. So if you can help spread the word, we do have plans to mail the application out to every homeowner as soon as we can get that list finalized, and we'll move this program forward. I'm sure we'll be out of money quite soon, but that is a good problem to have. We'll be ready to apply for more and be in a position to have our strategic plan in place. At that time, that concludes my presentation. I'll field any questions if there are any.
I'm sorry. First, he can go.
Let her go.
Yeah, Larry, we had talked about potentially, I was expecting to see kind of some like draft language about a program for a second round of funding without a match, given that was kind of what we had discussed at the FNIP meeting in December.
But what we discussed in December is trying to draft a program up for that. It is not drafted yet.
Yeah, you had communicated to me that you were going to have that program presented to council tonight.
No, that's
Okay.
got to go to the board first.
Yeah, I discussed it with the board and you had communicated to me during that meeting that we were going to have.
My apologies.
Okay.
We won't have that program ready to present tonight. I will make sure that it gets presented to council once the board has seen it.
That was a woman.
Thank you. I have a few questions regarding that program for the non-matching. Is there an opportunity for the neighborhood association leaders to work with FNIP on that program, considering the fact that these are ARPA funds for the community? I understand that FNIP has been allocated this funding. However, these are ARPA funds, so it would be great if our neighborhood association leaders could have an input as to what's needed in the neighborhoods as well. And also, are we able, well, that's one question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Make sure I understand your one question. Was that question around the exterior improvement matching grant
It's-
or the
what-
neighborhood association?
Well, that's already in place.
grants?
So then, not the exterior grant, because that's already going on now, right?
Right.
But the non-matching grant, the city manager Osterberg is referring to, because you all are still working on the plans for that grant, would you be willing to invite the neighborhood association leaders in so that they can have an input, being that these are community funds?
I'll take any input they have, but that's why you appointed us to this board, was to do that, part of it. And we have representatives from every ward.
It's just an ask. It
And
is.
I said, yeah, we'd be more than glad to, if there's somebody that has some specific requests, and I know you've had them and we've entertained them, right? By all means, we'll absolutely entertain those.
Well, I hope so, because there are, I definitely have, like, for instance, the neighborhood identifiers. Many of those need to be replaced or repaired. And then, do you all have any plans to use some of that money to help clean up some of our neighborhoods? I mean, yeah, we want to invite people to come in and purchase homes, but so many of the areas in Ward 3, the bushes need to be trimmed. You know, vacant yards need to be mowed. So does FNIP have any plans to utilize any of that money to help improve our neighborhoods?
Tree trimming, it's covered under the exterior improvement program. We allow that money to be spent to take down or trim trees on properties. We won't be addressing mowing yards.
Well, I'm not just on properties, but I mean like in the neighborhood, because it's Ferguson neighborhood improvement, not just the homes. So when people come into our community and they look at neighborhoods, I mean, when they're looking at homes, they're looking at the entire neighborhood and how it looks. And if it's discouraging because of overgrowth of vegetation or trash here, trash there, they can identify a street sign. How are we supposed to sell a home in that neighborhood if everything around that home is discouraging?
I don't have the answer. I can tell you the city manages the mowing of derelict properties. That's not an FNIP.
So you all wouldn't use any of
I
that?
don't have any plans to
The ARPA.
address that.
Well, that's just my question. I
No,
just
no.
want.
We're trying to make sure that we don't double address things, right? It would be really sad if we were working on the same thing the city was working on. So we talk to the city, we know where their programs are, and they help guide us on where FNIP needs to spend their resources. That's what we've done today, Councilwoman.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, so you mentioned the audited set of books. You all are working with RISE. Is that what you said?
No, our finances are actually tracked by the city finance manager today. And I don't know if the audit's been completed yet or not, but we were a part of the city audit that was kicked off in November, maybe.
Okay.
October.
So your books are being audited as a part of our financials as well. So
Okay.
we're expecting that to be completed by end of February.
Thank you for that update.
Is there any opportunity on the non-matching grant program on the application for you all to put that these are ARPA funds? Because I've had many people, I've given out the application because, you know, people haven't learned about the program. And so they're like, well, what about the ARPA dollars? Where's that money? And so just explaining so people will know that this grant is tied to the ARPA funding. So there's no confusion.
So that money is not coming from the
Exactly.
ARPA funds. The ARPA funds were allocated specifically for the exterior matching program. The Good Neighbor Grant,
Not the good neighbor, no.
hang on, the
Uh-huh.
Good Neighbor Grant and the NIM Fund, the
Uh-huh.
Neighborhood Association, those come out of our reserves, not
Uh-huh.
ARPA.
No, I understand let me clarify. The ARPA funding, the exterior home grant, that's the ARPA funding, right? You all are going to create a non-matching grant with the ARPA funding.
We're working on that. Yes,
Right.
it's not my decision, it's the board's decision.
So what I'm asking is if you all are able to identify that on the application, that these funds are directly tied to ARPA funding. So the community isn't confused because people are asking, well, where's the help with the ARPA funding? And on the on the matching grant exterior application, it's not identified there.
That is not a problem.
That's what-
Adding a line to the application for the exterior improvement program, whether it's matching or non-matching, it can easily say funded by your ARPA dollars.
Thank you.
That's an easy fix.
So
yes.
people aren't confused. So as far as promoting the program, you all are going to place an advertisement in the Ferguson Neighborhood News?
We're actually mailing the application to homeowners.
You're going to mail the application to homeowners? Okay. And that's the only advertisement, just mailing the
No,
application?
it's already advertised in a lot of places. We did an advertisement in the Ferguson paper, right?
You
After an
already-
interview. It's on several Facebook posts. It's also been advertised through several of the community neighborhood associations. I haven't been to all of those neighborhood associations, but I've been to several of them. We've discussed it at those meetings and advertised them there as well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Robinette. Just one more question.
Sure.
What is the average grant amount for the exterior home grant?
$1,000.
That's the average amount that's distributed.
It might be slightly under that, 950. Maybe we've had a couple that came in under the $1,000 maximum matching. But most people are wise enough to take advantage of the entire match. So their bids are for more than $2,000 and we match 50% up to 1,000.
Okay. Well, just one last, can the community receive quarterly reports of the allocation of the funds?
I'm sorry.
Can the community receive quarterly reports? And I'm asking just for clarification, everyone, because these are ARPA dollars and people want to know where is the money going? So, I hope you can respect these questions.
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, not a problem. I'll put that question to the city manager, Mr. Osberg, since our finance books are being kept by the city finance manager.
Shouldn't be a problem for us to provide that information. Just we might want to have, we just as a matter of ARPA funding dollars just in general, we will need to probably, you and I get together towards the beginning of spring. We're going to have our next report to the Treasury, the federal Treasury. And so at that point, we're going to probably want to give them as much information as possible, specifically like the kinds of projects that we've funded, and which I know you're already collecting data on with like pictures and receipts and whatnot.
Yeah, we're sending a spreadsheet.
Okay, yeah. Oh, so we could just forward that out then. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Lipka.
So thank you for that report, Larry. And it's been my honor for the last 6 years prior to you becoming the director of the chair to be the council rep. So I know very firsthand how hard it has been for this to develop. But I also know firsthand that for 6 years, you've been on that board with us and this is what everybody's been trying so hard to do. We had a lot of roadblocks, our city let our nonprofit status expire and so forth. So we had a lot of roadblocks, but I just need to emphasize to this community who's listening, the work that has been done is beyond exemplary. And it's work that has been from the heart, from the volunteers in this FNIP board that have been wanting this to happen for the last 7-8 years. It's it's a long-term, it's not, it's kind of like when the guy says, you're an overnight success. And he's like, yeah, I've been working on it for 10 years. You know, you're seeing success that's been worked on for a long time. I just need to be real clear. So, you know, when Councilwoman Noah asks for a financial breakdown, you basically just did that. You just got done showing us in your presentation how much has been loaned out currently in the exterior improvement program. So, I mean, that's there. And then also as far as the average amount that's loaned out, I mean, I get the question, but the limit is $1,000, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so, you know, the average amount is going to be the most to the limit, which is $1,000. And then as far as continuing to go back and forth about, you know, the non-funded, well, you just got done saying that that hasn't been created yet, that is still in the process of being created, correct, with the board? Any non-funded, I mean, I'm sorry, let me change I'm using the wrong wording. Non-matching.
What Manager Osberg asked about.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so that's still in the process of being created.
It is. We had discussion about that in our January board meeting. We meet the first Tuesday of the month. We did have a discussion about that program. However, it was not approved.
So my question is, you know, Councilwoman Noah keeps saying it's ARPA funded, but we just got done hearing from our city manager how we've already allocated all the ARPA funds, and the part of the ARPA funds that were allocated to FNIP to manage the exterior program, that's already has its limit, which is 250,000. So where exactly is this ARPA money coming from that she keeps referring to?
Slice of that $250,000. We were asked after the fact by the city manager and Councilwoman Noah.
If I may, so this was a consequence of me not being clear with communication when we were talking with FNIP initially. This was right around the time that the flood happened when this was happening. So if you'll recall, during the budget process last year, when we were going through the ARPA funding, one of the things that we talked about was using $250,000 for housing exterior programs.
Okay.
And at that time, during the discussion, it was here in the council chambers, there was discussion about there's kind of two ideas that had come from city council. That was competing, right? Some of council wanted there to be a match because you wanted it to kind of go as far as possible. And then there was other members of council who said that not everybody's going to be able to afford a match. And given that this is ARPA funding, we need to have some portion of these dollars that go to people without the matching
Capability.
requirement. That was something that I did not during the time when I was transferring the funds over to FNIP to administer. It wasn't something that I made clear.
Okay.
So when I realized that that had not been made clear, I brought it to FNIP's attention, and then FNIP moving forward is going to allocate some portion of that $250,000. If going back to the budget conversation, we had discussed that we would initially do the match, and then after we kind of saw what the access to that was, then we would go out and do like an additional round to try to help people who could not afford a match.
Okay.
So that's kind of the context of this.
It gives, you know, I do want to address your question too, and to Manager Osterberg. It gets a little more complex when you start writing checks without any other skin in the game from the homeowner. So it's tied to a level of income, and that's a whole different ballgame for us, right? Because now you're reviewing people's level of income. If somebody making enough money to afford to repair their house just comes in and applies under the program and you don't verify income, every program out there that I've looked at in other cities is based the same way, right? There's got to be some threshold there, and that puts a lot of responsibility on a board that doesn't have experience verifying people's income or different things. So we're working hard to, or I'm not, but the manager is to try to get us a director on board where we can pull those things together and be able to work a program like that.
And then again, like part of the reason that that I made the decision to delegate the funding to FNIP to be able to actually administer the program is because with the existing staff internally within City Hall, without the community development director, as Mr. Robinette's referring to, we just couldn't get that exterior housing grant program up and running right away. And given, especially with the flood, and we knew that there was a lot of damage and there's going to need to be some access for that. We wanted to get it rolling as fast as possible.
No, I totally agree with that and have no problem with that. So I would just say though, you know, as far as as the dollars going forward and having that clarification from City Manager Osterberg regarding that 250,000, a slice of that would come out of there. That makes a lot more sense because I kept thinking, what is she referring to? Because all of the money's allocated. So that makes more sense now.
Right, it's still an exterior improvement program. It's just not a matching one. So it's basically carved out of the same pool.
And then as far as the neighborhood facades, I think that also has some discussion that should probably happen going down the road in the future, because I know that that's also been an expense to the city and many times, and having FNIP pick it up has been kind of like, hasn't been established. And it's never been established in our criteria or the mission of that, but that doesn't mean the conversation isn't capable of happening in maybe something. But I would say that as far as including neighborhood association directors and things like that, the FNIP meetings are open to the public and they can attend at any time. So I would say all they have to do is show up.
But I agree. And in response to that, right, that they are open meetings, they can come back. But we also wanted to visit the neighborhood associations that are meeting. And again, we need to continue to make it around to all of those.
Yep. So, well, good work and thank you.
Just one last question. I promise.
Excluding the $250,000 ARPA dollars that FNIP has been allocated, what is the balance of the FNIP fund?
It's 250,000 minus 15,835.
No, not the ARPA dollars. FNIP has another fund, right? FNIP has a fund balance.
FNIP has a fund balance, yes.
Well,
I do not know. I can tell you that it's not what it was, because it's an invested fund and it's lost money.
And I would also say it doesn't regenerate itself, Ms. Noah. So it is a fund that once it's spent, it is spent. And until the FNIP can find ways to develop grants to replenish it and help the programs that they want to go forward, it is something you have to be very careful about, because once it's spent, it's spent.
Several
Thank
$100,000.
you.
I can
thank
tell
you,
that. I
Mr.
don't know
The
whether it's,
exact amount.
yeah, I don't know whether it's 700 or 500, but it's several $100,000. When we had the presentation a year ago or last year in April, it was $700 and something thousand.
Okay.
There's been a lot of losses in the stock market since then, and it is an invested fund.
Thank you, Mr. Robinette.
Thank you, Mr. Robinette, for bringing the report this evening and working for the community, FNIP. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Jones.
Thus end the special presentation. We move to public hearings. We don't have any public hearings for tonight. We move to our consent agenda, the city council meeting minutes, regular meeting 12/13/22, special meeting 10/18/22. Are there any corrections? Hear none, I request a motion in a second to approve the minutes.
So moved, Linda Lipka, Ward 1.
Second, Heather Robinette, Ward 2.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Minutes are approved. We move to boards and commission meeting minutes. We don't have any for tonight. We have 3 appointments for tonight. We have Ms. Covington for FNIP. I need a motion on the floor and a second for Ms. Covington to be appointed to FNIP.
So moved.
Second.
Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Ms. Covington will be on FNIP. We have Deborah Grady for the CRB. I'm requesting a motion in a second.
So moved, Linda Lipka, Ward 1.
Second, Heather Robinette, Ward 2.
It has been properly moved in second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ms. Deborah Gray appointed to the CRB. We have Rodney Fiska for FSBD. I need a motion in a second.
So moved, Linda Lipka.
Second, Heather Robinette.
Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. At this point, we are at our liquor license approval. Deputy Clerk,
So I believe the individual might be here. If you had any questions for them specifically, Octavia did mention that they would be here. This approval would be going forward. They haven't supplied all the information yet, but this is just making sure council is okay with them going into that location. The 235 South Florissant Road, if council would approve the liquor license, we would give them the actual liquor license once all the information has been supplied. This is just to make sure it's okay for them to go into that building.
What's the address again?
235 South Florissant Road.
the owners are here, so if you'd like to come up and speak to the council.
I'm not sure what documents we're missing, but I'll follow up with my point of contacts and get those satisfied, how we were rolling pretty good. But I appreciate you all having us. This is our second business on South Florissant. And we do intend on making it a cyber cafe. The liquor, competitive advantage and a niche as opposed to a deal breaker, so to speak, just providing sort of unique environment and bringing a twist to things like desserts and ice creams and sherbets. So just giving full access to operate by some cool new concepts. But really fired up about a lot of topics that were brought up, and we are extremely invested in Ferguson and helping the community get involved is our main goal, more so, making food. So any questions that you all would have for
Just in case you guys don't know who that is right there, that's the owner of King of Soul and his dad and his mom back there. And if their cyber cafe has mom cooking, I'm eating while playing on my computer. But yeah, that's awesome. And I'm glad to see you guys there. They live here in Ferguson and his kids go to BTC, and I'm really thrilled I'm proud of him. And so
We
it's
are.
pretty awesome.
We are. At this time, I request a motion and a second to approve the liquor license for the new Hive Cafe.
So moved, Linda Lipka.
Adrian Nelson, second.
Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. The liquor license requests have been granted.
Thank you all.
The next item is appeal request from Hughes Capital. City manager like to share.
Yes, I'll keep it brief. So, recently in the past a few weeks here, I moved up to hold an administrative hearing with Hughes Capital over the status of the living conditions in Versailles. We had been in contact with them since earlier this year in May, tried initially working with them just by weekly meetings. When that didn't seem to happen, we moved forward with enforcement, and this is part of that enforcement.
Okay. Any questions? Hear none. We are in consensus with you, city manager.
Thank you.
Okay. The requests are now closed. We move to the proclamations. We have one for tonight. Congratulating Kathleen Kitty Harrison on being selected to serve as the Greater North County Chambers of Commerce Chair of the Board. Whereas Catherine Kitty Harrison was born and raised in Ferguson, Missouri. She is a proud graduate of McClure High School and the University of Missouri, St. Louis. So yes, my alma mater. And whereas as a wife, mother, and grandmother, she maintains a career at the marketing manager at Johnny Lundolf Chevrolet. And whereas she also has an extensive volunteer history, she has chaired many events through the years. She is the past president of St. John and James Board of Education, Incarnate Word Board of Education, Ferguson Swim Team, and Hunters Ridge Neighborhood Association. She has also served as a member of the Incarnate Word Pastoral Council, Rosetta House Meal Preparation Team, Incarnate Word Speech Team Chair, and many, many others. Whereas she has served on the Greater North County Chamber of Commerce Board as the board secretary, treasurer, and is the current vice president, also chairing numerous committees. She currently volunteers for Incarnate Word as the hospitality captain, a lecturer, and a Eucharistic minister. And whereas Kitty still carves time to enjoy her favorite things, spending time with family, entertaining guests, hosting weekly family Sunday dinners, and gardening. Now, therefore, I, Ella Jones, Mayor of the City of Ferguson, Missouri, on behalf of the Ferguson City staff, hereby congratulate Kitty Harrison on being selected to serve as the Greater North County Chamber of Commerce Chair of the Board. Congratulations to her. We move to our next item on the agenda, resolutions. We have resolution number 2023-01. Without objection, we're introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney Tom, could you please read the resolution?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution number 2023-01. A resolution authorizing the city of Ferguson to enter into a memorandum of understanding regarding cost sharing between St. Louis County, Missouri and the city of Ferguson, Missouri to improve Hereford Avenue and Chambers.
City manager, could you please expand?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, City Council, members of our community. This is the memorandum of understanding that the city, or sorry, St. Louis County would like us to sign. They need a resolution passed saying that that City Council's in support of the memorandum of understanding. Memorandums of understanding, as it was explained to me by Apollo, are not legally binding, but it's meant to show a show of good faith that we are wanting to be in partnership with them to accomplish the roundabout at Chambers and Hereford.
Okay, Councilwoman Lipka.
So I'm looking at the memorandum, and under number 2, city responsibility, it says that the city provide funding in the amount of 20% of the total cost of implementation, implement improvements. City may pay county in annual installments of 100,000 due by February 28th of each year. So what is the amount? I mean, so
it's
are we paying 100,000? How many years are we paying 100,000?
So 3.
Okay,
3, and we actually budgeted for it this year in the capital budget
okay.
under streets.
So our portion is 300,000.
300,000, yes, that's what we had discussed. If everybody recalls, initially the county had proposed a 50-50 split.
Right.
We pushed back and we got them to an 80-20 split.
Good, okay. And then it doesn't, so this just talks about the roundabout. But I guess it does, I take that back. I think I did remember reading a little bit about the road diet on Chambers to Argent.
Correct, yes.
So that's gonna include that. So our money's
Correct.
helping pay for that as well.
Yeah, it's not just the roundabout, it's roundabout, the restriping, and then the repaving of the street.
And the narrowing of the street.
The
as well?
narrowing as well, yes.
Okay,
And then a side note, not to get everything too confused, but if you'll recall, one of the things we discussed with St. Louis County was doing a demo of a road diet
Correct.
prior to committing to doing the roundabout and the road diet, right? Because what we wanted to do is we wanted to see if doing a road diet was actually going to have the impact that we're anticipating it to have. So we have all of the equipment, all of those channelizers and the signals that we discussed. At this time, we're waiting for traffic for the weather to be warm enough for a long enough amount of time to actually do that installation.
okay. And
So
that's,
just to say, that's all to say that with this deal, the county is still in the position that in the event that that doesn't work, we might go back to the drawing board and tweak the plan based upon what we learned from that diet, the demo diet.
and this is gonna come from North Florissant, up Hereford, and then down Chambers to Argent.
Yeah, so so the permanent plan, like if everything goes forward as is with this MOU, the final plan would be between Chambers Hereford on West Florissant and New Florissant. For the demo road diet, it's just going to be, I believe, 800 feet, both east and west from the Chambers and Hereford intersection.
Okay, because yeah, it says safety improvements to the Hereford Avenue Chambers Road corridor from North Florissant Road to Argent Avenue. So that's the 800 feet on each end, on each side.
Must be.
Yeah, it says to Argent Avenue, including the construction of a roundabout. So I think we're saying the same thing.
Mhm.
Okay.
Anyone else? Councilman Palmer.
Would the memorandum of understanding have any kind of, are we going to have any say in the aesthetics of the roundabout?
Yeah, so they said they were going to come back to us once they're going through the design process. Yeah. And then
Okay.
that could change again. It can change again after we do the road diet on a demo basis.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Hear none. I'm requesting a motion and a second for approval.
Linda Lepka, Ward 1.
Second, Naquita Noah.
Deputy Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Noah,
Aye.
Councilman Palmer,
Aye.
Councilwoman Robinette,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilwoman Lipka,
Aye.
Councilwoman Nelson.
Resolution number 2023-01 passes. Resolution number 2023-02. Without objection, we introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney Tom, could you please read the resolution?
Resolution number 2023-02, a resolution of the city of Ferguson, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into and execute a contract with Spencer Contracting for concrete street repair.
City manager.
Yes, this is for a few street slabs. The ones that are in the worst condition are around 43 Spring Drive, 903 R Line, and then 6155 Emerald.
Any questions? Councilwoman Noah?
Just for clarification, the one on Airline, is that at the top of the street closer to Brotherton? That sinkhole?
I would have to look that up.
Okay, I tried looking it up and I just couldn't really tell on the map, so that's why. And then what's the funding source for this
This is from the streets budget from the capital.
streets budget?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you'll recall, we raised the streets budget pretty significantly this
I
past
think
budget.
$600,000.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilman Palmer?
How many bids were received?
We received 3. So we initially received, so we went to RFP, we received 1. And then when we didn't get any more, we actually started doing cold calls to get an additional, we actually reached out to an additional 3, and only 2 of them responded. So we ended up with 3.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the city manager? Hear none. I'm requesting a motion and a second for approval.
So moved, Heather Robinette.
Second, Naquita Noah.
It has been properly moved and second. Deputy Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Palmer, Councilwoman Robinette,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilwoman Lipka,
Aye.
Councilwoman Nelson, Councilwoman Noah,
Aye.
Resolution number 2023-02 passes. We move to resolution number 2023-03. Without objection, we're introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney, could you please read the resolution?
Resolution number 2023-03, a resolution appropriating additional expenditure and amending the 2022 to 2023 budget.
City manager, please.
Yes, so this
explain.
is the budget amendment, authorizing the funding for, in my budget, the city manager's budget, for the CLSW, with the Brown School, for the purpose of bringing in the CLSW, which is a joint, paid employee between the Brown School and the city of Ferguson. And with that will come 5 to 6, students who will work with us to achieve, some of our development goals. So one of the things I'm most looking forward to with this is, I've kind of been speaking to city council about this over email for the past couple of updates about, and also to the public tonight when we're talking about the accelerated demolition schedule, is getting a better handle on the number of vacant properties that we have in the city. Having that extra kind of technical help with the students, because it's going to be kind of report building and things of that nature, is going to help us streamline getting through that. Establishing that bank of properties, and then that will open a number of tools for us at FNIP and other groups, our neighborhood associations and whatnot, to deal with some of those problems.
Thank you. Any questions?
I just, sorry.
Councilwoman Robinette.
And who will these folks be reporting to directly?
So in the interim, I should wind back a little bit. We're in the process of hiring the community development director. On a permanent basis and a long-term basis, the CLSW and the students will report to them.
Okay.
But then in the medium term, it's going to be myself.
Okay, thank you.
You finished,
Councilwoman Noah.
I just, regarding the resolution, should it read, the city endeavors to partner with the Brown School on achieving its development? Is that correct? Or should it say the Brown School? Should it be Washington University Brown School of Social Work? Or just for clarification on the resolution, is that?
We could change it, yes.
I mean, I was just asking for clarification.
The-
Is that okay?
Do you want to change it? Can change it.
Make sure that it's appropriate. Is that, I mean,
Is there another organization we would be confusing them with?
no, I just asked, I mean, if you're okay with that, that's fine. I just asked.
All right,
My only
Councilwoman
question-
Lipka.
So I understand they're going to answer to you. Who do they answer to for WashU?
The CLSW. So the CLSW is a jointly funded position. So half of it's from the city of Ferguson, half of it's from WashU, the Brown School of Social Work.
I know, but they have somebody at Brown School that they have to answer to as well for their credentials, correct? Like their credits?
Correct, yes.
And who would that
Darrell, would
be?
you like to speak about that?
So I'm the professor at Washington University at the Brown School of Social Work. They would be supervised by me, the students.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
One more question. Where will they be housed? I mean, how, are they going to have access to City Hall and everything else? Or where are they going to be housed? Are they going to have an office at the community center or what are you thinking?
They'll be jointly based out of City Hall and then, wherever they're working, because it's kind of like a practicum. Think about it like that. It's more that they're practicum students than like actual employees.
Okay. Are you putting a motion on the floor to change the name to Washington University Brown School of Social Work?
Yes, I am. I would like to put a motion on the floor to correct the name to Washington University Brown School of Social Work on the resolution.
Okay, is there a second?
Adrian Nelson, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Now we can vote on 2023-03. I need a motion and a second for approval.
So move, Naquita Noah.
Deputy Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Give me 1 sec. Just making sure I have resolution. Okay. Councilman Robinette,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilman Lipka,
Aye.
Councilman Nelson,
Aye.
Councilman Noah,
Aye.
Councilman Palmer.
Aye.
Resolution number 2023-03 passes. We move to bills requiring first reading. Bill number 7238. Without objection, we're introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney, could you read the bill by the title only?
Ordinance amending certain sections within the Code of Ordinances for the City of Ferguson, all relating to the Housing Board of Appeals of the City of Ferguson.
Which number is this?
City manager.
No comments at this time for me.
Okay, no action taken at this time. Move to bill number 7239. Without objection, we're introduced by council members present. Here none, attorney, could you please read the bill by the title only?
Ordinance amending certain sections in the Code of Ordinances for the City of Ferguson, all relating to the Building Board of Appeals of the City of Ferguson.
City manager.
No comment.
At this time, no action will be taken on the first reading. Bill number 7240. Without objection, we're introduced by council members present. Here none, attorney, could you please read the bill by the title only?
Ordinance authorizing and directing the city clerk to submit a proposition to the voters within the city of Ferguson, Missouri at the April 4th, 2023 election, allowing the city of Ferguson, Missouri to impose a sales tax at a rate of 3% on all tangible personal property retail sales of adult use marijuana sold within the city of Ferguson, Missouri, pursuant to Article 14, Section 2, subsection 6.5 of the Missouri Constitution, designating the form of the ballot and imposing such sales tax subject to the approval by the voters.
City manager.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, members of our community. This is a referral to our voters to ask if we can tax marijuana sales at 3%. Now, a couple of things. First off, it is a little bit hard to tell how much money we're going to get from this if it was successfully to pass, primarily because we do not know how much more sales are going to increase with the shift from medicinal to recreational. However, as this is written before you today, this would just become a general fund source of revenue. And it is also my understanding, having spoken with the league and then Apollo as well, that this would not be something that would be co-opted into like the pool. It would be something that would be a point of sales within our city. So we would collect 100% of it.
Councilman Palmer.
Based on a former business license submission from the Greenlight Dispensary, what were their annual sales as a medical facility only last year?
It was like 1.5 million, I want to say, but I don't recall
Thank you.
the specifics. That's something I could provide to council in the future, though.
Okay. In order for this bill to be placed on the April 4th election, we are going to need to hold a public hearing before January the 24th. So if you take a minute to look at your calendars and see if you're available for a public hearing on the 18th, 19th, or 20th of January. We have.
I would recommend the 18th, just smack dab in the middle of the week. More people, I feel like, come than if you had it on closer to a weekend. I think they kind of disregard us because they're busy getting ready for their weekend. Just a gut reaction.
January 18th, any objections?
And then
Okay.
city council. So I will make sure to at that hearing to have the sales for Greenlight up to this point. It's also worth mentioning, I was remiss in mentioning that the mayor and I actually sat down and talked with Tom Bomarito, and he is in support of the sales tax. And he's the owner of our one dispensary in town.
Okay. I'm sorry, didn't we have two? Didn't we have one on Halls Ferry? Or did they?
We only have one within
Okay.
city limits.
All right.
Yeah, it's just Greenlight.
So we all agreed to January the 18th,
What time?
6 o'clock.
What would work for you? I got Ferguson Twilight Run meeting today that night.
We can hold it down.
Agree? We just need a quorum. Okay. Okay. January the 18th, we'll hold the public hearing.
And then
Thank you.
I have one more comment. So coming down the line at the next council meeting as well is with the legalization from medicinal to recreational, there will be some things that we'll need to change in our code to update specifically under the public nuisance areas of our code as it pertains to drug use. So please look forward to that at the next meeting as well.
We also have to change some of our laws too, like pertaining to getting pulled over under the influence. and
Correct.
things like
And that's part of that language that I just referred
Okay.
to.
Read to January the 18th for the public hearing. Thank you. We move to bills requiring second reading.
Mayor, we do have a comment from Darrell related to the amendment to the.
Yes, I'm sorry. So that name change is incorrect and we'd have to have it corrected. It is something that the Brown School of Social Work is doing with the city of Ferguson, not Washington University. And we have to make that very clear.
So now we need to make another motion. to
Correct.
do the correction.
Guys, I should have interrupted. Brown School, the way it was written was
It
correct.
was-
Oh, it's fine, so we didn't even.
Well, it was changed, so it needs to be changed back.
And we got to change it back. Okay, make the motion, please.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to change it back to the way it's written on the resolution. I apologize.
Is there a second?
Adrian Nelson, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. The resolution still passes with Brown School. Okay. Bills requiring second reading, bill number 7234. I'm requesting a motion and a second to read the bill a second time and place it upon its passage.
So move, Naquita Noah.
Second, Heather Robinette.
Attorney, could you please read the bill?
Ordinance of the city of Ferguson, Missouri, granting a special use permit to Aaron Strong for the purpose of operating a commercial daycare at 10716 New Halls Ferry Road, subject to the conditions, restrictions, and requirements set forth herein.
City manager,
No comment from me, but Elliot is on the line if there's any further questions.
does the council have any question for Elliot? Hear none. Deputy Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilman Lipka,
Nay.
Councilman Nelson,
Aye.
Councilman Noah,
Aye.
Councilman Palmer,
Aye.
Councilman Robinette,
Aye.
Bill number 7234 passes. Bill number 7235. I'm requesting a motion and a second to read the bill a second time and place it up on its passage.
Mayor, is there a way that we can put a hold on these things to address the issues that have been brought to us by the citizens?
Of course we can.
Okay, then I would like to make a motion that we stop the proceedings going forward on 7235, 7236. No, 36 is for Green River Greenway.
Yeah, we do need that.
What you're talking about was bills for first reading, right?
No, these are the bills for second reading to be placed upon its passage.
7235 is the only one then under this section of the agenda that I would like to put a hold on.
And that's the Architectural Review Board
Correct.
will merge with the Planning Commission.
Correct. I think that this has not been thought out very well, and it kind of reminds me of the fact that we picked up a scalpel doesn't make us a surgeon. So I think we need to do a lot more homework on this before we do this. And I will have the same opinion on, you know, when the other ones that just went for first reading will come up for second reading.
So why don't you offer the workshop?
Okay, I would say that I would like to see us schedule a workshop that involves invitations to all the parties of these different boards to meet together with the council and the staff sometime in February.
Is there a second?
But what date? Can we look at a date now? Is that okay? Or?
Our city council meetings are the
Second and fourth.
Valentine's and the 28th. So
We got meeting on Valentine's.
Councilwoman Lipton, can I say this? I was going to, and Mayor, I'm sorry, under old business, I was going to ask if the second.
Got a motion on the floor.
Okay.
I haven't called for the question, so.
why don't we say February 9th? That way we would have an opportunity to have a discussion and then possibly bring back the results to the first council meeting in February on the 14th. That's a Thursday. If we did a meeting on Thursday evening, a workshop, that would have Friday, Monday, Tuesday, unless you want to do it sooner, Mayor.
That's fine. Okay. Is there a second?
At 6 p.m.
6 p.m.?
Yeah, 6 p.m., I
Okay.
guess.
Second.
Okay, it's properly moved in second. Chris, call the roll for this one.
Give me 1 second, let me finish this note. Councilman Lipka. Councilman Nelson,
Aye.
Councilman Noah,
Aye.
Councilman Palmer,
Aye.
Councilman Robinette,
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye. Question, Chris.
Yeah.
Did we do a motion in a second to have this bill read? Or we stopped it before then?
We didn't.
Attorney?
We stopped it before. it was
Okay,
read.
okay, that's fine. Just need to clarify. Okay. So bill number 7235 has been postponed to February the 9th for a workshop. Did you call the roll?
Actually, could I correct you there, Mayor? I would like to say we are going to postpone it to February 14th so that we can have a workshop on February the 9th. Wouldn't that be correct? Because we want to discuss.
We're gonna have the workshop on February the 9th.
Right.
So we
So
can bring the bill February the 14th.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Have you called the roll?
I did call the roll.
You did call the roll.
Yes,
Okay,
for the,
it's postponed. Okay, let's move to bill number 7236. I'm requesting a motion and a second to read the bill a second time and place it up on its passage.
So move, Naquita Noah.
Second, Heather Robinette.
Attorney, could you please read the bill?
An ordinance of the city of Ferguson, Missouri, entering into an operation and maintenance agreement with Great River Greenways to build a new trail.
City manager?
Yeah, so we have Dave Musgrave here with our Parks Department to answer questions or address anything council has.
Would you come to the podium, please, just in case? Any questions about the Great River Greenways to be built, a new trail? Hear none, thank you. Ah. Deputy Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Nelson. Councilman Noah,
Aye.
Councilman Palmer,
Aye.
Councilman Robinette,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilman Lipka.
That's everyone. Bill number 7236 passes. We have bill number 7237. I'm requesting a motion and a second to read the bill a second time and place it up on its passage.
So moved, Heather Robinette.
Adrian Nelson, second.
It has been properly moved in second. Attorney, could you please read the bill?
An ordinance amending the boundaries of certain wards within the city of Ferguson, Missouri.
City manager, do you have anything to add?
No, I do not.
Okay, council, do you have any additional information? Anything you would like to add? Council, hear none. Deputy Clerk, could you please call the roll?
No.
Councilman Palmer,
Aye.
Councilman Robinette,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
No.
Councilman Lipka,
Aye.
Councilman Nelson,
No.
What is the roll call vote?
we have 3 and 3.
So we have, it is my understanding, when it's 3 and 3, we don't have a tie, the bill fails. Attorney, could you please correct me or?
Yes, that's my understanding as well. Madam Mayor.
Okay, bill number 7237 fails.
Mayor, may I ask a question of you?
Yes.
So now that it has failed and we know pretty much for the reasons that some of our residents brought to us tonight at the podium, what is the next step then? Because we still have to get this passed
Right.
by law.
Right. The next step is to go back to the commissioners
Okay,
and see if they can draw it up another way.
okay,
Okay, and I will be in touch with the commissioners tomorrow
okay.
to make certain that they hear these residents out so we could get it back on the agenda for January the 24th.
24th or 14th?
January.
Oh, January, sorry. I'm sorry.
January.
Too many dates jumping
I
around.
know, January.
Um,
Okay.
and while I've got your attention, can you go back and look at your notes? I don't think we did a roll call on the postponed bill, the 7235, because I would have been the first vote on that.
He said we did.
We did a roll call on like to postpone it. I went around and did a roll call for everyone.
I'm having brain farts, so
That's
I
okay.
apologize.
Everybody said yes.
That's
Okay.
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 I will get in touch with the chairman of the redistricting commission, talk with him, see if they can get together and listen to look at the petitions and what have you. So we could bring this back on January the 24th.
Thank you.
Okay, we move to item number 10, unfinished business.
Do I have unfinished business? The ask is to council and mayor if we're able to have the second board and commission meeting on January 26th. That's a Thursday at 6 p.m.
Councilwoman Noor, we just agreed to do boards and commission because of the upcoming changes. Is that not correct?
Pretty much, what we're focusing on is the architectural review, housing board of appeals and board of adjustments changes.
Can we do that at the same meeting?
That's fine with me.
So that's February 9th.
So that's going to be February 9th.
Okay,
Okay.
How long is that meeting?
the meeting can't go no more than 2 hours, from 6 to 8. That's it.
That's going to be.
Pack a
lot.
lunch.
But it's up to- I mean, that's
We
fine
could do
with me.
some work before the workshop, communicate with each other.
Could you, if you have something specific, Councilwoman Noah, could you send us all an email to kind of get us up to speed on what you're good at your emails, so
yeah,
send me another one.
Leave me alone.
To Octavia.
I
so
don't
she
have
can-
anything specific. I just wanted us to have the second
Right,
meeting. And
but send it to
finalize.
Octavia so she could get it out to everyone.
I'll just wait for the 9th. It's fine.
Okay. Any other unfinished business? Do we have unfinished business?
I would like to bring up one thing under unfinished business, and I would like to revisit I'd like to revisit the fact that I think that we need as a city to let the traffic commission take control of the Jamar technology. And I think we need to have the city, you have a release form already on your website. have everybody on the traffic commission sign the release form, have them show you their proof of insurance if you want it. But I think we need to move forward on this. We need to move quickly on this. And we, as it was stated during public comments, we've lost out on over 20 traffic reports right now. And, you know, Councilwoman Noah is very concerned about Forestwood and she wants some traffic reports done over there. And I told her tonight, if we had this moving forward, we could have a traffic report completed in 3 to 4 days. We could have the data downloaded. We could have information given to the different council members for their wards and to the council as a whole for recommendations for future movement in terms of our traffic calming opportunities. But we can't do that right now because we're tying it up in red tape. And I think all you have to do is look at the logistics, sign a release form, let these volunteers do what they want to do, what they're trying to do for this community. They want to do this for the community. Please let them do it. And I would ask that the mayor and other council members step out of it and just let them do their work.
City manager?
I really don't feel comfortable with the precedent that sets with other boards and commissions. We buy city property for city staff to do tasks. And we had set up Jamar and it was not working correctly. So we reached out to the people over at Jamar and let them know that. They've then provided additional training. And now we're still working on troubleshooting the device. So I don't believe that is because staff is incompetent and unable to understand. I think it's simply a matter of learning something that is somewhat complex and being able to deploy that.
Well, first of all, I never said staff was incompetent. So please,
I never said that you said that staff was incompetent.
I just want to
be
make sure that
clear.
that's not where I'm going. But what I would say is,
Mr. Cape's off.
City manager?
I'm leaving.
all I would say is that this is a situation where there have been multiple meetings with the Jamar staff and the traffic commission. So in situations where you have complications with the equipment, there's already been an ongoing conversation between the company representatives and the traffic commission members. So I'm sorry that this just happened. I'm not quite sure what just happened. I will table this and hopefully we can have this discussion some more, but I just would like it on record that I really feel like this is something that is very capable of us to do. And we have things that the city works in, answering his concern about proper or things bought, and he doesn't want to set a precedent. We already have similar precedents with FSBD and things that happen between FSBD purchases in the city. And we already have things, we have situations even with FNIP, administering $250,000 worth of city dollars. So just want to put that out there.
That
Yeah.
was under unfinished business.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's still
Um,
unfinished.
Let's move to new business. Do we have any new business? Hear none, new business closed. Let's move to miscellaneous, starting with Councilwoman Noor. Please be brief.
So on Monday, on MLK Day, Dave and Mark of the Missouri Stream Team 888, they're sponsoring a cleanup, a day of service. The cleanup is supposed to be on West Florissant. They're going to meet at St. Peter's Church on Stein at 10 a.m. But I'll also be in Ward 3 on West Florissant at 10 a.m. if anyone wants to join me. And then FYI is having their fundraiser on the 19th at the Midwest Wine Bar. And other than that, I'm trying to think, did I have any? Sorry, my mind just went blank. That's it. Congratulations, to the promotions on the for the Ferguson Police Department. Thank you. Sorry, you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Palmer,
Nothing from me.
Councilwoman Robinette,
I'm good, thank you.
Councilwoman Lipka.
I just want to once again thank the community for the 10 years of Taste in Ferguson And I do hope that that plaque gets prominent spacing somewhere in the walls of City Hall because we're very proud to be part of this community. I would also like to let everybody know, Councilwoman Noah sent us all in council information about the Show Me Missouri Healthy Homes Grant. And I'm sure she has it available to anybody, but it's something out there that you can look into at the St. Louis County Public Health. But I'm not the brains on this one. The only reason I have the information is because of Councilwoman Noah, so I'm giving her the credit on that. Also, don't forget, if you want to apply for the FNIP opportunities, that's on the website as the Mr. Robinette stated tonight. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Nelson.
Only thing I have is just congratulations to Captain D. Morrow and Captain Harris for the Ferguson Police Department. That's all.
Thank you. Deputy Clerk. And our guest attorney, Tom, would you like to share anything? Okay, thank you. I just would like to share that the Metro mayors, we had our meeting with prosecuting attorney Wesley Bell, and he cannot prosecute children. So they are currently working with the juvenile system to see how they're going to change the point system on how these children are breaking into cars. It was a 14-year-old broke into a car, shot someone. We're still working on it, the mayors and the prosecuting attorney. And we're working with the chiefs of police, North County, to do a task force to try to combat some of this speeding in North County. At this time, I would like to request a motion in a second to adjourn.
So move, Naquita Noah. Nelson, second.
It has been properly moved in second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, meeting is adjourned.